Stay a while and listen. Hey, it's all with news, opinions, and analyses. So on Friday, I was talking a little bit about BlizzCon. Like, hey, these goodies are gonna come out. Looks like in 2 days now. The pre-sale for like the BlizzCon goodie sale online merchandise thingamajig, whatever. And once I was done with that, I was like, ooh, exciting. It's going to be like Chicken and Waffles Con, PalCon, BlizzCon pretty soon. And I wanted to share some thoughts about, what might be coming that has not been announced yet. We'll do a little bit of speculating here and there. And it was thanks to the Nostalgia's team making a certain announcement and some reactions from the internet world and like Asmongold and some other YouTubers. They have had a couple things to say about it. So now, well, hopefully that won't take over the conversation, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. So for those of you who aren't fully familiar with it, BlizzCon's opening ceremony is typically the point where they announce like their biggest thing. It's kind of like the Apple or Microsoft keynote speeches or anything that you would see from E3. Usually something big is announced during these opening ceremonies to BlizzCon, usually in the form of like an expansion announcement, or like a couple of years ago it was the big Overwatch reveal that was like super mysterious. So there's a lot of speculation about what might be revealed during the opening ceremony, and well, I'll start mouthing off now. As of right now, Blizzard has 6 big games that are making the round, with the latest being Overwatch, which was an undisputed success. So let's go over all these games real quick. Starting with Overwatch, I'm sure they're gonna talk about how great that they've been doing, and like, some data metrics as to how many people have headshot the other, or how many people have been playing like certain maps or whatnot. But as for new stuff, I don't think they're gonna do anything like super groundbreaking or anything like that, because they've been releasing content at a pretty steady pace so far. So even though Overwatch is the newest entry into the Blizzard family, you can bet that they're going to just kind of run it through and milk it for as long as possible. We can bet that Overwatch is going to be supported for years and years and years. So at least gameplay wise, I think they're going to maybe announce like some sort of new game mode, something to kind of spice up the competitive side of the game. But as we know, Blizzard doesn't just make games, they make franchises. So what could Overwatch be aside from just a game? I have a feeling that Overwatch is going to try to break out from just being a game and try to be a little bit more than that. So let's say comics, or heck, even like an animated series, like a TV show, a movie, something like that. Maybe something to help kind of flesh the whole story together, because right now there isn't a whole lot of story to, to be revealed right now. So in short, they're going to expand a little bit on the gameplay and things like that, but I think they're going to take really big strides to strengthen the franchise, like build a real foundation so that they can make more games, more products, and things like that. StarCraft 2 and StarCraft altogether, that's kind of a tougher sell, because technically they're done. Like, supposedly the story's done. There isn't too much more that they're going to, expand to. They did the whole Nova Corps stuff, which, to be honest, I didn't pay attention to at all. Now, I'm not a huge RTS person these days, but it's hard to say what more they're going to do with the game. Now, we didn't hear anything about, like, hey, the entire StarCraft team has been laid off, or they've been moved to maybe they've been moved to other projects. We don't know yet. Like, they might have been moved to the Heroes of the Storm team, or who knows, they might be making something new. Warcraft 4? No, I don't think that's going to happen, but it is hard to get a really good gauge on what's going to happen with StarCraft in the future. Like I said, they're kind of done. Where are they going to go from there? I wouldn't be surprised if they said like nothing about StarCraft 2, because even in the face of their other games and the other genres that have been up and coming, like MOBAs and arena battles, StarCraft 2 and heck, and even StarCraft, they still have a really big following. So we can count on, the continuation of like tournaments and events and things like that are surrounding the game, even if all they're doing are like little patch updates and things like that. So concerning StarCraft or BlizzCon announcements this year, I'm not predicting anything. Nothing's going on, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Moving on to Heroes of the Storm, again, kind of like with Overwatch, there's been a steady stream of content that's been coming out ever since last year. Like between the new characters and the very recently announced weekly brawls that are kind of along the same lines of Overwatch's mode. I don't think there's going to be like a super big reveal that's going to, knock everyone's socks off. If anything, they're likely to introduce like a couple new characters, and hey, they're going to be playable at BlizzCon, all weekend. Yeah! So there's that. I'm sure it'll be cool. I'm sure it'll be fun. But I think that with their regular updates and the fact that the MOBA itself is a little bit low-key compared to the other big MOBAs, I don't think there's going to be anything like super huge for them to announce. Moving on to Hearthstone, I think that it's a little bit more predictable on that front, because for the past two BlizzCons, they've announced a new Hearthstone expansion. So it wouldn't surprise me to see something new once again. As for what it is, I mean, who knows? I mean, they kind of timed the whole One Night in Kara thing with, well, maybe they kind of timed this with the upcoming Karazhan patch coming for World of Warcraft, but I don't know. I don't think they really align those kinds of themes together, even though some folks like to try to put on their tinfoil hats and try to piece everything together. I think the development teams regarding the creative aspects of that, I think all that's, they run parallel. They might talk to each other, but it's not like, hey, we're doing this, okay, let's do that too. I don't think that happens. If it did, though, we'd probably see some like a very heavy demon related pack. I don't know, but for sure there's going to be another expansion announced for Hearthstone, because hey, it's easy. Now for Diablo 3, and I have one word: expansion. Expansion. Okay, I don't think that there is going to be an expansion, but I think there needs to be an expansion announcement. The story of Diablo 3 has taken some really interesting turns from its very beginning. It started out with what it was, and well, now we're where we're at. I guess the comparison is, before we had like the whole real money auction house, hey, let's bank on that. And now we have this whole seasonal thing going after Reaper of Souls came out. This seasonal thing where everyone jumps in and they get all crazy and they're doing stuff, and then as the season goes on, everyone just kind of falls off so they can wait for the next season and whatever goodies are going to come or not come. But when it comes to all these multiple seasons and what have you, it makes me think of that one Simpsons episode where Marge has it's like a pink Chanel dress, and then she's remaking it, but in the end it's still a Chanel dress. And it's definitely time for something new, something fresh, another act, another class, some sort of something on top of what we have now would be extremely helpful, and an expansion would be the best way to deliver on that. I don't think that just adding another system layer like how they added Kanai's Cube, I don't think that's going to be effective. Well, not to say that Kanai's Cube wasn't effective, but I think that they're going to really have to step up on new stuff in order to keep players' interest long enough to not just to keep the current players interested, but to get new players interested into coming in. Diablo 3 has been out for a number of years now. Certain gamers are getting older and they're getting exposed to to different computer games, and now's a good time for Diablo 3's team to try to reel in this new generation of players, if that's possible. So while I am expecting them to talk about like maybe new systems and things like that, I'd really like them to talk expansions, new classes, another act, and stuff like that. The other reason why I'm expecting, or at least hoping for, something special to happen is because this year marks the 20th anniversary of the Diablo franchise. So I'm hoping for something kind of cool to happen. On top of that, there were tweets that came from David Brevik and Bill Roper. They were over at Blizzard headquarters the other week, and they were heavily involved in previous Diablo projects. Not only that, but on Blizzard's career site, there was a listing for a unannounced Diablo project that is no longer listed. So feel free to speculate as much as you want. Now, before I move on, I want to note that Blizzard has done a pretty good job of keeping secrets, of keeping things close to the chest before revealing it out to the public or letting it leak or whatever they systemically do. At least as of right now, we haven't seen a map, we haven't seen a full-on schedule, and using the map and schedule, we can kind of speculate as to, what's probably going to happen. At the same time, though, at the 2014 BlizzCon, there were areas of the map that were just blacked out. You couldn't see anything about it, and there were certain parts of the schedule that were blocked off, and there was a lot of speculation as to what's going on. It's something that they're not announcing. Oh my god, what could it be? And it turns out that Overwatch was announced, much to the surprise of most people. The upcoming store preview also doesn't give us a lot of indication as to what's going on, because just like with the 2014 BlizzCon, they had some stuff, but then they didn't really launch like the full-on store until all the announcements were made on that Friday. So despite whatever supposed leaks that we get, or things that we see on Reddit or MMO Champion or wherever, we're really just gonna have to wait and see. I'm sure it's still gonna be a couple of weeks until we find out the band or the crew that's going to take care of closing ceremonies, but ultimately we'll just have to wait and see and keep those thoughts in our dreams or our nightmares. And now for the part that you probably skipped to, all the World of Warcraft stuff. Are they going to announce an expansion? Hell no. I mean, Legion just came out. I'm not going to entertain that thought any further. As for Karazhan, it's really just going to depend on when it comes out. I don't think there's been any real indication on whether or not it's going to come out before or after BlizzCon. But if 7.1 isn't scheduled to come out until after BlizzCon, you bet that most of the conversation is going to be about all the changes and, you know, the new dungeon, the new raid, and all that stuff that's going to come out. And you know, it wouldn't really surprise me if they came out with a kind of trailer for the Nighthold raid. Since story-wise, we've only seen stuff that's been happening on the Broken Isles. We haven't seen like the bulk of the Horde and Alliance forces come over, and I think that's going to be expected to happen fairly soon. One thing I am a little curious about is the Warcraft movie. While the movie might not have done all that great in the US, worldwide, well, for a video game movie, it smashed. So I think BlizzCon might be the time where they would announce whether or not they're going to do a second movie. And if they do, they're probably going to provide a couple of teeny hints about the plot. Probably not like the casting or anything like that. You know, I'm sure they're not nearly that much into development yet, but I'm sure they're just talking about like ideas and stuff like that. And now for the big one. Are they going to announce like legacy servers, pristine servers, things like that? No. And we can take all the merits and the pros and the cons and all the reasoning and like the thousands of posts on the MMO Champion thread. We can take like 99% out of that and just kind of throw that stuff out of the window. And my own personal thoughts and feeling don't really have a bearing on the matter. It's really just a matter of business sense. Does it make sense for them to announce or launch legacy servers for World of Warcraft? And I don't think so. So this is all my opinion. It's how I think, it's how I feel. So, definitely feel free to disagree. I could be totally wrong about my business sense on this whole matter. So, let me know your thoughts about this or anything else in a comment below. So the way I see it, when it comes to weighing in the factors of setting up a legacy or pristine server in WoW, you'd also have to factor in everything that Blizzard is doing right now. Clearly, with the launch of Legion, Blizzard has demonstrated that they're doubling down on creating new content for players. This is whether you like it or not. They're making that kind of push, and at least from the looks of things, it's definitely paid off. There are, once again, a whole hell of a lot of players playing World of Warcraft, and these aren't numbers that are talking. It's just things that I'm seeing, at least on my server, and things that I'm seeing other people say on other threads. That's most of the information that I'm taking in, but I think it's pretty accurate to say that there are more players playing now than there were, a couple months ago. So the question is, what is best for Blizzard as a company going forward? Because on the one hand, it makes sense to continue looking forward and at at new expansions, new content, things like that to strengthen the base of players that you have. On the other hand, though, there are fans of like the older content, people that supposedly want to see what WoW was like in the very beginning. So you gotta wonder, okay, if I look back, how many players, how many new players, how much revenue and profit and whatnot can we get by going back and grabbing those players? So then you gotta strike a balance between the investment time and money that you're putting in, possibly either splitting your team into two or expanding your team in such a way that you can support both stuff that's coming later and the old stuff. And ideally, you want to do both. As a business, you want to make as much money as possible, right? So of course, you want to, you want to have your eggs put in many different baskets, so that way you can maximize your gains. Of course, when it comes to situations like these, when we're talking about game development and the many years and man hours and training that goes into developing and retrofitting these systems and engineering new stuff, there are risks, and you don't want to pile on all these risks into such a small amount of time that, if something goes wrong, all that stuff is going to blow up in your face, and it becomes very, very hard to recover. I think that if Blizzard did have to choose between looking ahead and looking back, well, they already made the decision, and the delivery of Legion so far is testament of that. This is still my opinion, and I think that Legion's launch has been incredibly successful for a 12-year-old game. So it makes total sense that you want to keep supporting that and build on the subscribers that you've just brought back or that you've gained, these new people. And this direction, this whole looking ahead direction is one that they've been going for the past 12 years. Thankfully, paradigms have shifted within Blizzard. Now we're not seeing a whole design approach where they want to launch an expansion every year. Thankfully, they threw that out of the window. I'm a little surprised that it took them so long to kind of figure that out. But really, when it comes to the business of game development, it is really hard to see that when you're inside. When you're outside, you can make all sorts of assumptions, like I am right now. But regardless, it's cool that they have made that change, and it's really paying off. But it's because of that payoff and kind of the untested waters of creating like a legacy server or a pristine server for the World of Warcraft. They're not. It's hard to say. I mean, we can look at petitions and forums and things like that, but that doesn't really give a good indication of what will happen. And it's going to take a lot of capital for them to make that happen, and it would suck if that were to just kind of blow up in their face. Now, that's to say that while creating a legacy server isn't a bad idea, it is a bad idea to make right now. It's just too soon. Legion is still too fresh. We've still yet to see, the full offering of what's there. Personally, I'd rather see them divest. I'd rather see them put more of an investment into that before they say, okay, let's clean our hands off of this. Let's do this legacy thing and let's see how that works. I think it's too soon to announce something like that, but not too soon to just kind of get started quietly. I mean, people waited this long. I guess they could wait for a little while longer. Maybe. So the reason that I'm even talking about this for so long is that the Nostalgia's team, they made an announcement the other day, and I'll just kind of read off the good parts regarding the possibility of Blizzard not announcing legacy servers. They state that as a consequence, if Blizzard doesn't make an announcement to honor their own core values, be sure that we will. And in reading that statement, I have a feeling that the NOS team didn't quite see that meeting that they had with Blizzard. I don't think that both parties came in and came out with what they thought they would. And here's what I mean. I think the NOS team expects, and of course a lot of players expect legacy servers. Boom, here we go. Let's go forward with this. On Blizzard's side, though, I think that they went in the meeting and came out with, hey, these are the things that players want. How can we get these things into the current game? And I'll just mouth off a couple of examples. So like a sense of inter-server community, or, otherwise not having cross-realm zones, or having more difficult leveling content and no matchmaking. So like no LFD, no LFR, nothing like that. And there was that post from JL and Brack that talked about pristine servers, which were basically normal servers, but they were cut off from everyone else. So there was no matchmaking of any kind. There was no CRZ. You just had these realms that were just kind of contained within itself. And this is all off the top of my head now, but there were, you couldn't use things like heirlooms, and you couldn't transfer characters in or out. So you would have also have a closed off economy. And I think that's a stronger demonstration of what Blizzard would define as their quote unquote core values, where maybe they wouldn't mind having kind of a separate play style from other folks, similar to how there are PvP, PvE, and RP servers, but at the same time keep the game pretty much up to date. Because again, it just doesn't seem to make a lot of business sense to go into creating a full-on legacy server so soon. And ultimately, I just don't think that they want players to live in their own you know, super small old bubble. So in short, no, they're not going to announce legacy servers. And even if they did, either at BlizzCon or later on, it is not going to be what you think it is. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the matter. Go ahead and leave a comment down below if you got something to say. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, like and sub, I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys when I see ya. Stay breezy, guys.